It's our responsibility. The type of society that you have is directly attributable to the effort that you put into it.
If you can keep a kid from getting in trouble in the first place, that's what we need to do as a society.
We are losing generations of kids because we're not intervening.
Children seldom start off committing acts of violence, but whether they come face to face with the threat of violence in school,
hey guys, that's where they're going. What are you gonna do about it?
in a broken home,
You gonna hit me again?
or in a street gang, the lure of violent behavior traps thousands upon thousands of young Texans in a cycle that often ends behind bars. It's easy to think violence is someone else's problem, but the Rotary Clubs of Austin and Houston believe it's an issue for all Texans. As Rotary International has helped eradicate the polio virus around the world, the Rotary Clubs want to eradicate violence in our society. We believe schools are in a unique position to intervene with programs that teach children how to respond to threats of violence.
If we can intervene at an earlier age, we're far better off.
Five decades ago, Johnny Rogers was a child who desperately needed someone to intervene and show him he was on the wrong path. In school, Johnny had dreams of becoming a history teacher.
Every day I would think about what it'd be like to be a teacher, you know. But as you say, I would suppress it. I couldn't allow it to grow, to bloom, you know, because it would interfere with what I was about.
Like so many young people today, Johnny joined a gang when he was barely a teenager. His gang was notorious for armed robbery. It was his way of making people too afraid to tease him. Childhood polio left Johnny with a deformed arm.
Children can be vicious. Growing up, oh, flick this Johnny Rod, man, I hated that. And the feeling generated that mindset. And it made me angry. It made me a violent person.
Johnny spent 30 years, half his life, behind bars for committing violent crimes.
Just think maybe if someone had spent more time with Johnny talking about the merits of being a teacher.
So many children, because they don't have the structure at home, the nurturing at home, begin to act out. It's small things and then it escalates. You know, birth is such a miracle, life is such a miracle, and we're squandering our children.
Today, more than 300,000 people are confined in state prisons and county jails in Texas, many for violent crimes. Did these inmates fail, or did our society and our schools fail them? Some experts believe well-intentioned efforts to crack down on violence have turned schools into a pipeline to prison for children with behavioral problems. In the 90s, an increase in drugs on campuses and horrifying incidents of school violence across the nation led many Texas school districts to adopt zero-tolerance policies.
In fact, the law said that if children did certain things, they had to be removed from classroom. There wasn't any choice on the part of the teacher or the principal or anyone else.
Rebecca Lightsey studies school discipline and helped publish a report called Texas's School to Prison Pipeline.
When you take a kid and suspend them out of school, what are they doing? Probably nothing. You know, especially now, I mean, you know, 30 years ago there was probably a mom at home. There's not a mom at home anymore. You're just sending the kid to the street. So it's completely unstructured, plenty of time to get into trouble, and no time to keep up with your classwork.
Under zero tolerance, students can be kicked out of school and even arrested for fighting.
I mean, one thing is for a kid to pick something up and hit a kid over the head, but if all things being equal, a couple kids get in the fistcuffs, we don't want to turn those kids into criminals and put them in the criminal justice system where now you go down a slippery slope.
If they're not kicked out of school, students who commit violent acts are often sent to disciplinary alternative education programs, or DAEPs. But research shows students in these programs often don't get the help they need. Almost a third of Texas students who return from DAEPs are sent back for repeat offenses, and the dropout rate for DAEPs is 5 times higher than mainstream schools.
They're essentially being warehoused. When they come back into the class, they're further behind. They're stigmatized, they're less motivated, and you start on a downward spiral.
That spiral starts with dropping out and often leads to a jail cell. In fact, 1/3 of all Texas Youth Commission detainees are dropouts, and 80% of all inmates in Texas prison dropped out of school. Many experts believe we can reverse this trend.
You just got to figure out how to reach them.
Judy Briscoe spent 30 years developing rehabilitation programs for the state's juvenile justice system. Like many in her field, she sees an opportunity for schools to respond proactively to minor offenses by providing quality violence intervention programs.
They're based on what the research says works with kids at particular ages. They teach kids problem-solving skills, they teach kids coping skills, they teach kids leadership skills. All of those things need to be in place.